welcome to Telling the Tale. It's the podcast where we talk to you about Telltale games. A sort of zombified, reanimated company that is producing all of your favorite narrative, choose-your-own-adventure type video games. This week we'll be talking specifically about the Expanse Episode 4, Impossible Objects. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley Wolf, and I'm joined, as usual, with Dustin Cornelius Jackson.
Mitchell, you brought up zombies earlier. Is this podcast going to be, like, scary?
Not going to be scary this week. This week's more of a space epic.
Oh, you know what? Space isn't scary.
Actually, this episode's a little scary.
A little. I forget how we do this show. It's been
so. Okay, can we just calm down for a second and address that?
Sorry, you know what? You go ahead.
Yeah, so our lives caught up with us. We've both had some interesting things going on last weekend. We couldn't record a normal weekly episode, so we take one of our patented siestas for a little bit. And because normally that wouldn't be that big of a deal, but because we were jumping between The Expanse and The Walking Dead Season 3, A New Frontier, we've kind of gotten off of our rhythm a little bit. And I think being thrown from the rhythm has made this gap feel longer than regular.
Yeah, you know, like we've taken breaks before. Yeah, we've taken breaks before, but it feels like an eternity. And I feel like it's because that little space has just been so eventful.
Yeah. You want to talk about what you did?
Yeah, I would love to.
Sure.
I went to PAX West.
Cool.
Yeah, that was fun. I met up with a lot of our friends, a lot of people we had on the podcast before. Courtney
Name
was
all
there.
of them.
Courtney was there. Adam was there. Andrew was there. Mainly because those last two are my roommates.
Right.
Are those the only ones we've had on the show that were there? I think so. But, other friends were there.
Yeah, I believe the only 4 people we've had on the show are Adam, Andrew, Courtney, and Varum.
Yeah. So 3 of them were there. And also friends of ours, Cameron, Jem, and Cammy. And you want to know something very fun?
Mm-hmm.
They actually had a panel there at PAX West for The Expanse.
Did
Telltale's
you go?
The Expanse. I did not. I thought about it and then I
know
forgot.
what? Okay, I didn't even know they had a panel until you brought that up literally right now, and I'm a little mad that you didn't go, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I knew you would be.
You have a little bit of a job here, man.
Right. Well, to be fair, I didn't know there was one until the very last minute. And I wanted to hang out with my friends. And I forgot the next day.
Okay. Wait, the next day? That's not last minute.
It's kind of. It's
Dustin.
Last minute the day before.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, I just had other stuff I wanted to do.
Jeez, okay.
I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, though.
I don't think it is. I think I really don't think they let those be recorded.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true.
Okay. Do you know what they talked about at all?
Let me see if I can find, the synopsis for it.
Okay. Yeah, because I have heard that there was... I didn't realize you were right there, but I have heard that there was some news. They were talking a bit about the bonus episode.
Right.
Cool podcast, man. We're really really covering the news.
Man, I cannot find it. All of the things I'm finding are from 2016, 2018.
Yeah, that's not even close. That's not even it at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Sure.
I bet it was great though.
I bet it was fantastic and super enjoyable and edifying.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dustin, for your participation. I went to Super Nintendo World over the last weekend.
How was that?
It was fun. It was the Hollywood one, the Universal Studios Hollywood one, which is a bit smaller, in my understanding, than the Florida one or the Tokyo one. Universal Studios Hollywood is a very compact park.
Yeah, I don't think it has like the Yoshi ride. But I think it has just about everything else. I mean, the Mario Kart ride, the structures and costumes and such.
Yeah, it does not have Yoshi, just about anything, actually. But it has all of the like wristband, you know, the system with the wristband events where you collect keys on your little profile. And
you
then
hit the blocks.
Yeah, if you collect 3 keys, you'll be allowed into a secret room.
Ooh.
Off to the side, where you're allowed to kill Bowser Jr.
You get to come to the secret room to kill Bowser Jr. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Did you get to go?
I found 3 keys, which was not as difficult as it was emotionally trying, because I had to stand in front of literal 3-year-olds and not just say, okay, you can go. Because, like, if you do that, you'll be letting everyone pass.
Right.
But then we would go up to a thing, and it would be like, turn a crank. And then, like, I did it good enough to do it. One or two of them were actually fun kind of games, but then the other 2 of them were like baby toys for babies.
Right.
Yeah. And like I felt genuinely embarrassed taking a spot from a kid to do it, but I was there with my sister, who is also a full adult. It's not like that made it better. Yeah. But it's a fun system, and it's a fun park. And I did also, more relevant to the show, right next to Super Nintendo World at Hollywood Universal is the Jurassic World area. So I got some Jurassic Park action there, and we saw a lot of those acid spitter ones, which play a pivotal role in the game.
Ones. Were they fun? Did you like them?
Yeah, I got sprayed. Ew.
Ew, gross. Yucky.
Yuck. Yeah, and then the Mario Kart, like the actual ride there. The only ride in Super Nintendo World in Hollywood is Mario Kart. And it's fun.
That's good. I like that. So to my understanding, based on what you've said, you also did not go to the Telltale panel.
Yeah, the one that they had in Super Nintendo World there was too much of a line, so I couldn't. Yeah.
Oh. All of a sudden, I'm not looking too bad.
Yeah, I guess when you think about it, the fact that you were at the event where the panel is doesn't make me any more having gone to it than you.
That's
true. We can't really quibble about whose fault it is, even though it is yours.
Yeah, even though it's mine, who's to say, really?
Okay, how about this, The Expanse Episode 4 Impossible Objects, which released on September 7th, 2023, developed and written by Deck 9. How do you feel about it?
Impossible Objects is a fun name.
It is a fun name, yeah. It is one of a few names in this season where I'm kind of like, I'm not really sure how you got that name for this, but cool.
What is the impossible object here?
Yeah, I guess the impossible object is the hallucinations. There's some hallucinations, like those objects aren't there, so they're impossible.
They're impossible. Yeah, I think it was a little better than the last episode.
Okay, I actually really liked this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that it did more interesting.
I'm feeling negative hesitation from you, which is okay.
Well,
let's explore it. Let's explore the space.
I wouldn't even say negative. It was more, I don't really feel one way or the other. Like, it's less negative than last week, but I'm also like, here I am floating through another space station doing another one of these circuit puzzles.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. The gameplay of it did not change. The gameplay of it is still what it is.
I did like the hallucinations. That was interesting. I like that it kind of delves into Drummer's space madness.
She's really getting some space madness up in this episode. Here's the premise. Here's the whole premise of the whole deal.
Okay.
Regardless of how the previous episode ended, which can end a lot of different ways, most notably with Maya, your love interest, being alive or dead.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. Like as far as this episode as a standalone unit of playing is concerned, they don't know how we ended the last episode.
Right.
So we're left on that same space station, which I thought was an interesting choice. This is the first episode where we're revisiting territory. We're left on the same space station as last episode, but this time we are out of oxygen and we're trying to make it just on our last legs to... I think what she's trying to do is to reconfigure the distress signal that the space station is putting out, which at this point is not going to actually reach anyone in the solar system because it's pointed out at aliens.
Yeah.
So she's trying to reconfigure it and saying like, okay, no. Real people who are around and can help. You need to come here. I'm very low on oxygen. I need help. But while she's doing that, and while she's making her way toward the computer console, I guess, that controls that, she's suffering from hypoxia. She's very, very low on her O2 supply, and she's hallucinating. She's hallucinating primarily that her old commanding officer, Anderson Dawes, who was like one of the extremist Belter rebels, is talking to her, and it's revealed a bit about what she has done in her past, which is, on Dawes' orders, set up a bunch of bombs around a building of some sort, and she set them all off, and it turned out that she killed a lot of innocent Belters along with opposition Belters, when she was told that it was all about like Belter versus Earthling or Martian stuff.
Yeah, whoops.
Yeah, so she's obviously carrying a lot of guilt from that.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, she sets up the distress call in what I thought was going to be the end of the episode, because all 3 previous episodes to this were only like 1 hour, and this was about the 1 hour mark.
Yeah, I thought this episode was going to end multiple times because I was so used to them being very short. And it's not like this episode's much longer. It's not like it goes on that much longer, but still, there were a few times where I was like, is this where it's going to end? No, is this? And then it finally did.
It's not much longer, but it is more like a more typical, like, I don't know, Wolf Among Us length episode. It's got bite to it. This one's a sandwich. This one's a full sandwich, not just a lettuce.
It's not just a lettuce.
Yeah, so she does successfully set up the call, and then she's standing outside waiting for people, and she thinks she's saved, but then she looks at the ship that comes, and it turns out it's the pirates that we've been dealing with. And we get some up-close and personal time with some of the pirates for the first time.
Yeah.
Including Toussaint, the leader of the Europa's Bane, the pirate group.
Toussaint.
And
it's fun to say.
Yeah. Also, someone who like was working with Drummer named Julie Mao. Also, a guy named Tor who works under Toussaint. After having no new characters for all 3 previous episodes, like all 3 previous episodes, you have the characters that you start with. Suddenly, we just get like 3 more characters out of nowhere. It felt like a generous gift to have the additional characters to work with.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad to see some new blood in there. Maybe that's what's really fueling my opinion of this episode, because honestly, I think looking back on it, maybe I should be a little more negative on it than the last episode, because the last episode still had some good stuff in it, at least for me, because Maya died.
That's good for you?
Well,
You
I
see,
know how it
it's
sounds.
that attitude, Dustin, that's really holding you back. You
I know
gotta
how.
like
I know how.
when
Hey, you
characters
said
are
it
good.
last episode. You said it last episode.
I
You were
know.
like,
I'm giving you a
Maya
hard
did.
time.
Maya did not die for me, which gave me a lesser episode. And
Yeah.
you know, there was that. There was the good visuals of like the chasm. And
Sure.
then this episode, I feel like I just didn't get any of that. But it did bring in some more characters, which is interesting, at least.
Yeah, I liked the hypoxia hallucinations. I thought they were a really interesting way to get more inside of Drummer's head, because we've been playing as Drummer and we've been making a lot of the like conversational decisions for her. We don't get a lot of who she is throughout this game. So this episode really did a lot for me, and I you know, it's going to be up to your taste. But for me, this episode was important in finally kind of bridging the gap between my understanding of the game and the story of the game and the story of this character Drummer, who we, despite playing as and having the most screen time in the game, is probably the character that we like delve the least deep into compared to everyone else on the ship. So to see that inner working of her mind, and also just like the visual stuff associated with these hallucinations is kind of interesting. Like there's like a small group of rocks that are just kind of floating in zero space, and then you go past them, and as you go past them, they turn into the stupid floating decapitated heads. Just like little tricks like that. It's a fun way to play with your expectations. It's some
push them aside like balloons.
Yeah, it never gets to horror game levels. It's not actually, you know, scary, and there's no like jump scares or anything like that. But
slightly
it's definitely using
unsettling,
some.
at least.
It's definitely unsettling, and it uses some horror game like design philosophy to get where it's going. And
subtle,
I think
subtle
that's
stuff you don't even notice right away until they bring it up. I didn't notice the heads until Drummer was like, "Was that a head?"
Yeah, she does help you get there. Yeah, and like you're going past some of the coffins, which are actually there, but then you look in the coffins and it's your crewmates, which are not actually there. And
yeah, that was neat.
Yeah, cool little moments. Anyway, you talk with Toussaint, who clearly wants the object that you found. She by the way, we talked about Toussaint a lot in episode 2, Dustin. And,
right,
yeah, and I believe we misgendered her. So that is our bad.
Sorry.
Yeah, we only got her voice and made a bad judgment call based on that. But now we've seen her and also have had more FaceTime with her and just know who she is more. And she's a cool character.
Yeah.
She's like maybe the first character in the whole game that I've been like, oh, dude, fun.
Yeah, I like that there's layers to her. Like they mention at one point, like, yeah, she is like ruthless and will kill, but she's pretty like her guard. What's his name? Tor. That's right.
Yeah.
Tor. Yeah, he says like, yeah, she is ruthless, but she's very trusting. She's a pretty open-hearted person, and I kind of like that. I like someone who's I don't even want to call her a villain at this point. We don't, but you know,
I mean,
obviously
she's
it's not
clearly an
Drummer.
antagonistic force.
Yeah,
like she's the villain of the situation. But
yeah, she's not someone that Drummer likes. But you can, but I like that they bring up. Oh yeah, no, she's like not the worst person.
Yeah. So you're dealing with an interesting situation where, like, really the big villain is Arlen.
Yeah.
Now we know that about him. He's kind of shown his true colors. For you, he killed Maya. For me, there might be time with that. I'm not sure. I kind of doubt it's going to work out. But yeah, and then he took the MK core, which is a very, very dangerous object to be held by anyone. Of course, Toussaint wants it, and the deal that you, the player, don't really have any control in making. You're just gonna, have this deal be made. The deal is that you're gonna help Toussaint get the core from Arlen in exchange for the safety of you and Maya and any of the other friendlies on the ship.
Yeah. I like that Arlen tries to distract Toussaint by saying like, "Hey, drummers out there, I know she's got a price on her head. You can go ahead and have her. We're just gonna go ahead and get out of here." And
Yeah,
Toussaint's
we're not carrying
like,
anything valuable.
Yeah, we don't have like anything you might want, so we're just gonna get out of here. And Toussaint's like, I don't think that's like a true thing, so I'm gonna come and kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic they have going on there, because you can tell, like, on either side of Arlen and Toussaint, we're not dealing with any, or even Drummer, like between all of the leader type characters here, we're not dealing with anyone who is impossibly capable, like everyone here is pretty ragtag.
Yeah, there's no like, oh, I am this powerful force. I know what I'm doing, and everything's gonna go great for me. I'm super cool.
Yeah, like of everyone, Toussaint is clearly the one with the most power and most people under her, and like the highest firepower. But she's like not invincible in a fight at all.
Yeah.
This whole place could just explode. So what you're trying to do is help me out with this, because you played it more recently than I did.
Mm-hmm.
When you're first brought aboard the pirate ship, the other person in your cell is Julie Mao, and she pushes. She tries to make it look like a fight, but she pushes you like behind the eye line of the camera, and then she explains that you need to do something with a chip, like a computer chip, at the control console of the ship. What was it?
So in that scene where they're like firing torpedoes at her original cruise ship, it's called the Artemis, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She turns off the security in the brig during the whole shebang. And
okay, so that lets
I didn't really
that lets Mao out.
Yeah, that's what I assume. It doesn't like show what happens after that. It ends pretty soon after.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure that's going to be like the last episode, kind of.
Yeah.
See if that was a good decision or not. Here's another thing: like in any other Telltale game, whether or not to trust Mao and whether or not to actually do that would be a choice.
Yeah.
There's simply, for my taste, with this format of gameplay, probably just too many things that are not choices. I would normally be allowed to choose.
Like in all the other episodes so far.
Too.
Yeah. Like it felt like they at least had some like big choices in a lot of the episodes, but not this one really. Like they didn't even have like a big end of episode choice.
Yeah, there kind of was one, but yeah, it's not like critical. You can tell it's not. I mean, maybe it becomes critical. I don't know.
It's possible. We've had some of the dialogue choices become critical.
Yeah, well, speaking of dialogue choices, I have the list of the 6 choices they highlighted from this episode here. 6, by the way, is the lowest number out of any episode that we've done so far in this season. And even then, it kind of feels like some of these are a stretch, because the first one is, when you talk to Dawes, you control whether you say he's the past or a hallucination. Then you can tell Dawes to shut up or not. Then you can call Dawes a hypocrite or not. Then you can tell Julie Mao who you are or not. And then you can tell Toussaint whether or not you love Maya. So those 5 things are all just like, the choice is dialogue. The choice is just like conversationalism.
You chose to say this.
Yeah. And then the 6th one isn't even a choice. The 6th one that I didn't mention is making it past the drones in the hallucination on your first try or not.
I did it.
I did too. Not a choice. That's just a thing.
I think it was like
do.
90. I think it was like 90-something% made it through.
Yeah, for me it was 87. So by the time you played it a little later in the week than me, more people had played it, and even more of them had succeeded.
Man, I'm glad we got to know the statistic on that one.
Yeah. So one thing that's just like a skill challenge, and the other 5 are all like conversation choices can matter, and I'm sure some of these probably do in how they affect episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
But they really are all just sort of flavor, in a way that for a Telltale game in this style, you would expect more effect. You would expect more consequence.
Yeah, imagine if, like, in a Walking Dead episode, they just told you, like, every dialogue choice you made.
Yeah.
In an episode. And it's just like, that's just choosing a thing to say.
Yeah, they tell you them, and then it's still just 6. Like, that's a low number for that. Well, 3 of these 5 Yeah, okay, so, wait, of the 6 choices, 5 of them are all just conversationalism. Of those 5, 3 of them are with Dawes, who isn't there and is a hallucination.
Yeah, he's in your head.
That can't matter.
Yeah,
he's not real. So there's only really 2 choices in this episode at all, and they both kind of aren't. Well, okay. So I assume the one that might matter in next episode, if either of them do, is telling Toussaint that you love Maya.
Okay.
How you respond to that, maybe it'll be beneficial for you, to be honest, or maybe it'll be weaponized against you. I don't know yet, but I could see that mattering. The other one, like, just telling Julie Mao who you are, she already knows who you are.
Yeah.
That was just like, are you going to be difficult or not?
Boy, slow week for choices that matter, huh?
Yeah, pretty slow week for choices that matter. So, like, by deduction, there's kind of only one choice for our choice cut, I guess. So I bet I could guess what you wrote down.
Yeah,
but we can talk about that when we get there. Yeah, so in that regard, yeah, it is, I suppose, a pretty weak episode. I just came out of it not feeling that way, just because, yeah, I guess I really liked being on the pirate ship. I liked the dynamic with Toussaint and Julie. And Torrance is a fun guy.
Yeah.
I liked the additional depth we got into with Drummer's backstory. I like the hallucinations and what they represent for Drummer. And I actually really liked staying more time on this space station, because this second time that we see it is very transformed. They use the space in a very different way, even though it's the same setting, and that's interesting to see. So just from all that stuff, I would say I'm much more positive on it than negative, but yeah, it's got this whole season really has some work to do.
Yeah,
if we're gonna like continue making these games in the same sort of style.
Yeah, I guess that's why I prefer it to episode 3. It just feels like there's a little more to sink your teeth into, even if I'm putting them side by side, I really don't know which one I would say is the better episode, because I feel like now, at least, I'm getting pretty tired of being in these settings with making these, just floating around doing these little puzzles that don't matter, and especially in an episode where the choices don't matter either. I'm a little at my limit, but yeah, I think the new characters especially are the oasis in the desert.
Yeah, it's interesting to be at your limit, because on the one hand, saying that you're at your limit before the end of a game is not good. But on
Yeah,
the other hand, it is only one more probably 1 hour episode, so like you can definitely do that. So
yeah. Maybe at my
yeah.
limit isn't the right choice of words, but it's just more these feelings that I had before are just getting stronger as it goes. Like at the beginning of the season, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just kind of a slow start. Maybe it'll go some places as it goes. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, I guess
I'm sure they're saving some stuff for the last episode. Like, obviously,
sure.
they can't just do this for the last episode. I would
No.
assume.
I would also assume, yeah. Uh it is rough when a video game story like this from a company like Telltale that's put out some like pretty lofty narratives in their
Mm-hmm.
history has about the gasoline to measure like 6 hours of gameplay, and that's it total across all the episodes. I
Yeah.
would say like, hey, that's kind of weak. 6 hours, like that's low. But also, if it only runs that 6 hours, like, okay, I guess you had enough fuel to get to the end of what you were doing. That's all you tried to do. But and
Yeah.
like the ambition is low, maybe in terms of like the story that's being told, but also the execution only goes that far. So like that's all. It's just a small thing. It's just like a really purposefully kind of small little bite size of a thing, which just hasn't been what Telltale's delivered in the past. Like things like Tales from the Borderlands
Mm-hmm.
and things like The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us are all based on pre-existing intellectual properties. And what all three of those things did was elevate the intellectual property it was working within significantly. Just like showing what kinds of stories can happen in this space. Um, like the Walking Dead game showed what the Walking Dead universe can do in a way that I don't think the main storyline of the Walking Dead really touches on at all. Or Wolf Among Us with Fables, or Tales of from the Borderlands with Borderlands.
Mm-hmm.
It's transformative. It's expansive. It makes me care about those intellectual properties when I might not have otherwise. And with the Expanse, I maybe this is harsh, but like, yeah, I don't see that happening at all. I think that the main storyline of the Expanse, like the show and the book series, is definitely the thing to get excited about. And even as someone who likes these Telltale games and would talk to other people about these Telltale games, I don't think I would recommend this unless you already really, really like The Expanse.
Yeah. I totally agree. And this might be a little unfair to bring up, but this game's pretty expensive for what you get.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think
Like
that's unfair.
I think about how all the other Telltale games up until now, you get more out of it for like half the price. And I don't know. It feels a little unfair to touch on the price. I feel a little
Yeah.
dirty doing it, but it is.
I mean, those
It
older
is.
games are half the price now because they're old.
But they were half price
But
at the time. They were $25 when they came out.
not all of them. Near
I
near
think
the end,
most
they
of
were
them.
near the end. They were definitely closer to like premium priced products.
Were they?
Um,
I didn't buy them
yeah,
right away. But I so
yeah.
as far as my memory goes, just everything I remember getting from Telltale was like $25 for a whole season. But
I think that is a bit low for what it became. But yeah, you're not wrong here. This is at it's 40, right? At $40.
well,
Um,
isn't it like wasn't it 50 for like
the special. No, I think it was 45. It was
gotcha.
just a
Okay.
$5 difference, which was weird,
Yeah.
right? uh, at that point, like, yeah, I guess $5 more you can have it, but still, yeah. Let's say you didn't do that, putting it at $40 for just the 5 episodes. We still have that 5th episode in the wings. We can't really comment on what the ending will do to our interpretation of the season, but yeah, so far I would agree. Like, I don't like to comment on pricing like that unless it's truly outrageous, and I don't think it's truly outrageous. I just think it's difficult.
That's how I was feeling. Like, I felt bad even bringing it up, but it just feels like this is what I'm getting for this, and that sounds so mean and dismissive. I don't think they've done like an awful job with it. Like, I would feel so. I would feel worse if it was like new Tales from the Borderlands quality. Then I would be like, come on, you're giving me this for this. I can see, like, it's a very nice looking game. You can tell that they're putting real effort into this, so I feel bad just kind of being like, yeah, I don't think it was that good so far.
Well, yeah, New Tales from the Borderlands is an interesting one to bring up as sort of the other currently existing return to the Telltale style. Because I think it's also like $40.
Yeah.
But New Tales from the Borderlands...
I think its episodes were meaty. They were like...
Yeah, every episode was meaty. Some of them were, as we talked about, we were not fans of, and might go as far to call them bad. But like,
we might say that.
There was quite a bit to them, and quite a large world to them. Like, the fact that we were introduced to not 1 but 3 characters in this episode is notable. I don't think it would be notable at all in New Tales from the Borderlands. That would be like kind of bare minimum. The production quality of New Tales from the Borderlands actually blew me away a little bit for what it is.
Yeah,
that's not the biggest deal when trying to judge the quality of a video game, but still, it was the animation's great in that. The acting can be great in that.
Another thing about it that it's so weird to bring up New Tales from the Borderlands in a positive light now, but but I think about, like, you're doing different things in like every episode. Remember when you go on that like show where you're pitching the ray gun? Like,
do you remember how that game ends? With like different characters can turn into gods and like yeah. Like, that game goes places and it's wacky about it, which I do appreciate. The way it got there is kind of weird, but like
I will say nothing in the Expanse pisses me off like that game does. Like that I feel like that game brought out a real nasty side of me. But at the same time, it is making me kind of think about the things I think it did well. And I think it does those better than this game does. This does some things better than that. But yeah, it had ambition, I'll say.
Oh my god, the Borderlanders minigame, remember that?
Yeah.
Where
you're playing with the little toys?
Oh my, Dustin. My golly gee. Golly.
Maybe I was a little too harsh.
No, we can't. We can't. We drew such a firm line in the sand last year when we played that game.
I'm gonna stand by it, but boy, I hate that The Expanse, this game that's actually coming out now, it's not even finished, but it's making me say, remember the good parts of New Tales from the Borderlands? You play with the toys.
Yeah, and it's rough because, like, yeah, it's a completely different problem than New Tales from the Borderlands had. New Tales from the Borderlands was a mess. It was chaotic. There were so many narrative threads that, like, you try to pay attention to where the story's going, and then the story forgets where it's going. And so, like, you're still dealing with the character's problems, and the story's like, dude, we're on a shark game show right now. And, like, okay, I forgot how we got here, but all right. There's so much going on, and it never coheses into, like, saying something. And that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and there's like gameplay stuff I didn't like. Like, it felt like there's parts where it's like, you didn't pick the right choice. Guess what? You gotta suffer for it. You made the wrong choice when playing this game, and you suck. And remember the skateboard points?
I do.
Yeah.
Bad system.
I still don't know how they work.
Yeah, no,
But
not really.
there is something to admire about just like throwing all of this shit at the wall just because you think it might be fun. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's like, we just want to do this fun story in Borderlands. It doesn't come together into a product that works, but they at least tried to go wild and wacky and memorable with it.
Yeah,
It
I think it hurts more compared to the fact, considering the fact that it's new Tales from the Borderlands, where Tales from the Borderlands
so
is
good.
wacky and big and funny and goofy, but also is incredibly well written and cohesive and
Yeah.
really all comes together and says something meaningful. So like it felt like somewhat of an insult to the name Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So like that's that game's problem. Its bigness, its messiness, its complicatedness, its refusal to like go into itself and look inward. And then like the Expanse has completely the opposite situation where it is very focused. It
Yeah.
is laser focused on saying something that I am excited to see how that resolves. And I'm sure that of all the problems that we've talked about, I don't think that'll be one of them. I think that we're going to get to, like, what was the point of this story? I'm confident in that. I don't have, I don't have caution about that in particular, but with its such laser focus, like, it's so focused on telling you this story that it takes choice away from you in a game where the mechanic is making choices.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
takes exploration away from you in times where, hey, this is a game that, like, the big innovation over previous Telltale games is the exploration. It wants you just to, like, really just ride it like a ride, like almost like a visual novel. We our friend L brought up either 1 or 2 weeks ago or so our Telltale games visual novels.
Mm-hmm.
And even though this one has the most exploration, I kind of think this one might be the most likely to be that. I still think no. I think that if you have like control of the character, it's just not a visual novel.
Right.
Um, but
I
yeah,
think
I
I'm
mean,
there
like
with
there's
you
a
on
lot of
that.
crossover in terms of what the genres mean.
Yeah. Um it's weird because it feels like this game should have you should be having the most fun exploring in this game where you're able to float around in zero gravity. It feels like something that would really benefit from that. I don't think I did like any exploring in this episode. Who cares? I
This
have
one
nothing
is
to go.
very linear. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will
Even the last
say,
episode, I was kind of like, I don't need to do this.
I like floating. It feels
I
very
like
good to
floating.
float.
I like floating as a concept. I like that. Yeah, it does feel good to do it.
Yeah.
I
It's
just wish I
difficult
was
to make that
doing
kind of
anything.
like three-dimensional approach work well on a controller that's really not built for it, and they did it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's very impressive.
Hmm.
Kudos are deserved in that regard.
Yeah, like anytime I could float around, I would do it. I don't need to be walking around.
Yeah. Um I kind of think we're circling. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we go into segments?
I don't really have anything. This episode really, it didn't give me that much. It gave me a little more than the last episode just with all the new characters and stuff, but I think this might be one of my shortest pages of notes I've had.
It's pretty short for me too, yeah. Even though it's not the shortest Expanse episode. Um
Yeah. And I
oh, but
think
you
what
know
it
what we can
did
do?
is interesting. What? What can we do?
Well, it's it's the second to last episode of the season, which
Uh-huh.
means that next time we get together, we're gonna see the end of this story.
No, we're
So
not.
let's
We're doing
predict how
Walking
it will
Dead.
go. Next time we get together for the Expanse, we're gonna see the end of the story.
There you go. There you go.
So, and actually, you know, there's the bonus episode, but the bonus episode is probably about a different thing entirely.
Yeah.
So let's do some predictions. How do we think this
Okay.
is gonna resolve?
Well,
You
I think
go.
it's pretty clear. I I think it's pretty clear we're gonna have a big showdown with Arlen.
Yeah,
Do you think that Rayan's his name, right? Do you think he's
Arlen's
gonna
brother
stand
Rand.
up?
Yeah.
Do you think he's gonna stand up to him? Maybe a fight where one or both of them die.
Well, I kind of think that depends on your relationship with Rand.
True, true. I
I
did
think
not
I
make
think that's
all of the choices right, so I guess I'm not
yeah.
on his side.
I did make all the choices, so I'm hoping that for me, just trying to get in the spirit of like thinking this through. I'm hoping that my benevolence toward Rayan and even Arlen in Rayan's eyes makes it likely that he keeps Maya alive instead of kills her.
Right.
Might help us out in trying to subdue Arlen.
Hmm.
I've been very nice to Khan. I've got a good relationship with Khan.
I've been
So
pretty
I
nice
hope
to Khan too.
you didn't give her the cigar though.
Oh, that's true. You. Oh, I totally forgot.
Yeah. I did get some extra conversations with Khan. And I did not get the extra conversations with Virgil, although I did give him his mushrooms. So I'm wondering if like that's just how it's gonna play out. How have I been a leader? Maybe that's what the series is kind of all about. It's about leadership. Maybe.
I can see that. Do you think they're gonna? You just said his name. What was the doctor's name with the mushrooms?
Virgil.
Virgil. That's it. I totally forgot because he has not been in the series for a couple episodes.
Yeah. I mean, he's. It's only 5. You guys, did you forget? You got to bring him back.
Because they have Cox bring up something about his past in that first episode, and I was thinking like, are we gonna have time to get around to that?
Yeah, and I didn't even get that actually. So
maybe not even. So maybe it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
maybe it's an irrelevant thing to bring up.
We know we can talk to Cox in I believe episode 2, but I didn't get the conversation. And learn about his past, and he'll tell you that he was a UNN person of some sort, I think.
Right.
And you have to like decide to trust him, even though that's weird for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that, so maybe that'll mean that Virgil won't fight on my side. I don't know. But I guess that's what I assume is going to come down to. Like, how well have you treated your people? And with that being regarded, that's going to affect how the fight between them and Toussaint, with you kind of in the middle, goes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that Toussaint can get the MK core, though. Because, like, that would affect the series, the Expanse, too much. And I don't think that's a thing in the show or books. But I haven't seen all of them, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a pretty big plot device that would have come up.
Yeah, if someone has it, that would be significant. And I don't think they do. Although I really am not sure.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know where it could go beyond you have a fight against Arlen.
Well, yeah, maybe like the big decision at the end would be like all those other people in your crew aside. There's going to be a fight between Arlen and Toussaint, and you might have to put your finger on either side of the scale. That's what I would expect.
Yeah, it'll be a real kill Kenny or not situation. Kenny or Jane.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about South Park for a second, but then I remembered The Walking Dead season 2.
You know what? I can see why you would think that.
Yeah, you killed Kenny, or did you?
Telltale's South Park.
That's an interesting idea.
70% of players let Kenny die.
You bastard. Would you like to do segments?
Sure. I think we could do some segments.
Choice cut. What is your choicest cut?
I guess it has to be telling Toussaint you love Maya. What else can it be? We
Yeah.
went through all the choices.
Did you tell her that you love Maya, or did you tell her to
I
back
did.
off?
I told her.
Yeah, I told her too.
It just felt
It just seemed
like
true.
not. Yeah, yeah. It didn't seem like something Drummer would be like defensive about.
Oh,
And
by
it
the way,
didn't.
I forgot to
It
mention
didn't seem like,
this.
huh?
Well, so there's a part during the hallucination sequence where Maya comes and like talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
You got that right?
Yeah.
So I had a feeling you did, because in that sequence, her skin's like blue and veiny, as if she was suffocated in the void of space.
Yeah, as if
But
she
that
had
did
been
not happen
spaced.
for me. So yeah.
Which is
So
interesting.
she's
You
just
think you would?
blue.
Yeah, you think it would be easy to just say, let's use the not blue Maya for this scene if she did not get spaced.
I can see that being very not easy.
Okay.
But also, yeah, it does seem like a bit of a thing, because during the conversation they actually mention the fact that like Drummer, instead of blaming herself for what I assume in your situation would be Maya dying, Drummer blames herself for letting Maya be stuck with those animals, I believe is the phrase, with Arlen.
Right. Yeah, for me
Yeah.
it was more because she died, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Huh?
Yeah, so she
yeah.
has the same hallucination of Maya coming to talk to her, and she's like, are you gonna let a little door stop you? And then
Yeah, she
after
does
that,
whole thing.
after she finally gets the distress signal out, she goes back to Maya's body and gives her a sort of funeral. She pushes her out the airlock to float in space, and she presses the little computer thing on her wrist to play her little song while she's pushed out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so her body's just sort of with you on the
Well,
space
yeah.
station?
Yeah, she brings it in.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought it was a good
yeah.
scene.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
I'm sorry.
It does sound like a good scene. Speaking
Yeah.
of scenes, what's your golden moment?
I liked when Julie Mao was pretending to beat her up, so they could talk to get off the ship, because Drummer's like, oh yeah, now punch me, and then she like pulls her back and gives her like the fakest looking punch, and she's like,
Yeah.
I gotcha, take that. That was fun.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty. What was yours? Was
Mine
it the
was
hallucinations?
No, it was the conversation with Toussaint. Like the first time you meet her,
Okay.
Toussaint makes a joke of some sort, and then she's like, "Relax, Drummer, it's a joke." And then Drummer says, "Like, I bet all these people think your jokes are super funny, and you're, like trying to make the implication that she's a tyrant and like making people laugh at her own jokes." And then Toussaint asks Torrance, "Hey Torrance, do you think my jokes are funny?" And Torrance goes, "Fuck no, your jokes are no, your jokes is corny as fuck, boss man."
Yeah, I like that they do a good job of humanizing Toussaint in a way. It's like she's really not that different than anyone else you've met in this game. She's not some like big, powerful final boss villain.
Yeah, like I guess the Europa's Bane, especially with the way it's a very large ship. The way it looks is intimidating. She is kind of positioned as like a final boss villain, but no, she's
just a person. Like a
at the end
ruthless
of the day,
person
that's
who
all
has
anyone in
killed.
this universe can be. Like these are just people.
Yeah,
in trying
exactly.
to make a living in space. She does it in a way like they talked about the decapitated heads, because that is something that would be a hard thing to reconcile with what you've seen so far. You know that
Right.
the Europa's Bane are responsible for cutting all those people's heads off, and like Drummer brings that up, like, am I supposed to believe that you're benevolent when you do that shit? And it's revealed like, no, okay, look, those were already dead people. We cut their heads off as an intimidation tactic. We're not very sacred about corpses because we're belters. We have to recycle corpses for, like food and water.
Right.
Which is, gross, but it's not a bad point. Like it is sentimental at the end of the day.
Yeah.
To care about that.
Although Tor later does say, yeah, all those heads, not all of them were dead when we cut them off.
Yeah, Tor.
Or when he cut them off.
Tor is a loose cannon. Tor's a
He's
scary
wild.
little guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do a very good job of humanizing Toussaint, which is why she's my weekly guy.
She's mine too. I thought about Tor, but no, it's Toussaint.
Tor's funny, but I feel like there's just more to Toussaint.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, just a very interesting character design.
Yeah.
Kind of like along the lines of like a Gears of War, like football backpackers gun guy, but also a bit more grounded than that. You can see, you could imagine like a person in real life looking this way. But a cool character design all the same.
Yeah, totally.
I'd
really like to see where things.
More... Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
I'd like to see more of Julie Mao in this last episode, since she was only there for a little bit. It feels. I mean, they have to do something with her, otherwise, what would be the point?
Actually, let me look up real quick if Julie Mao is.
Oh, you think it's like a show character they just put in for this one bit?
I do. Yeah, and she is.
Game of Thrones.
Yep. That is what happened.
All right. Well, I guess that makes it a little less clear on what they'll do with her.
Oh, I remember her character. Yeah, she's actually critical.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so she's. If you've seen she's like in the first season of the show, pretty significant.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's definitely a play to the show. With The Wolf Among Us, they give enough of a buffer between the events of the game and when the comics must start that they can do things like a sequel series. With this, I mean, they might be in a position where they want to do a sequel series down the line, but I kind of think that they're really pushing up against the story of the show.
It'd be hard to slot in there.
Yeah. They could though. They could just do it anyway.
They could just choose. Fuck it.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they've presented it as the Expanse, a Telltale series, which just makes me think that it's one and not. Yeah, like this is the series.
Well,
but I guess they did that with Batman too.
Yeah, Batman.
Yeah. Batman.
Batman.
Yeah. Well, that's the episode.
Yeah, I guess we talked more about it than I thought we would, considering there just isn't that... Like, my notes were so short, I already said earlier, but I was thinking this was going to be a pretty short episode, but no, I think we did a good job. Good job,
we did
Mitchell.
a good job. And you know what? We were harsh. We were harsh, but I liked it. I left it thinking I do think it's my favorite episode in the series thus far. I know you said you like episode 3 more.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. My thing was I don't know if I like episode 3 or 4 more, because 3 I was pretty harsh on. This one I just feel like if you put them side by side, this one you're just floating around in a space station again, doing like the same puzzles. I feel like on paper it would be the weaker episode, but then it comes in with these new characters that are fun and interesting, so I do think it is better. Yeah.
I'm really excited to see where it goes and how it justifies the story up to this point. Last episodes of Telltale series are always very interesting. Trying to like reconcile all the choices and what we've been... I guess what the game's been saying with the choices up to this point. So, looking forward to the Expanse episode 5. We'll cover it in 2 weeks, as you had reminded me earlier in this episode. Next week, we're going to be going back to The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. I believe episode 4 we're going to be doing next week. Yeah,
Spooky.
So we've got... Because of the word dead?
It's got zombies in it.
Oh, buddy. Wow, what a train wreck. Okay. So we'll see you for that, and we'll talk to you later. Have a great summer.
Bye. Have a good summer.